The throne room of King's Landing smelled like dust, steel, and betrayal. Ned Stark stood before the Iron Throne, heart pounding behind his ribs. He held Robert Baratheon's final letter, naming him protector of the realm, but his hand trembled. Joffrey sat on the throne now, smug and dangerous, with Cersei's eyes drilling into Ned like daggers. He had only seconds to decide. Should he speak the truth, that Joffrey wasn't Robert's son, but born of incest between Cersei and Jaime, or stay silent? He'd written a letter to Stannis, the true heir. He had the evidence. But what of Sansa, still trapped in the Red Keep, Arya, missing somewhere in the city? His men outnumbered. Ned breathed in deeply. He lowered his eyes. I recognize King Joffrey as Robert Baratheon's heir. For now, Cersei's lips curled into a victorious smirk. The court murmured. Littlefinger arched a brow. Renly looked shocked. And Ned Stark, the honorable, unbending warden of the North, felt something die inside him. Later, in his chambers, he sat by the window, watching the city burn in the evening light. Varys appeared, quiet as smoke. You chose survival, Varys said, wise but dangerous. I chose my daughters, Ned muttered. For now, Varys tilted his head. You've bought time. Use it well. The game never ends. Ned's days passed in a cold fog. He still held a place on the council. He still advised the boy king. But the Lannisters ruled in all but name. Cersei played queen and regent. Joffrey issued cruel punishments to minor offenders, delighting in pain. Ned watched, jaw clenched, each act stabbing his conscience. One evening, Joffrey summoned him. You are loyal, the boy said, lounging in Robert's throne like a child in his father's boots. I was told you would betray me, but you didn't. Why? Ned met his gaze. I served the realm. Joffrey laughed. The realm is mine. It was then Ned knew Joffrey wasn't just a spoiled brat. He was dangerous. More dangerous than Robert had ever feared. Meanwhile, Stannis' reply came in secret. Cold words written in fire and stone. The throne is mine by law and right. You delay justice with silence. That makes you a traitor, too. Ned burned the letter before anyone could read it. Back in the north, word of his silence traveled. Robb felt betrayed. Father bows to a false king, he told Grey Wind, pacing in Winterfell's halls. The north won't kneel forever, Catelyn. Worried, she knew Ned had a plan. He always had a plan. But how long could a wolf stay silent among lions? At court, tensions grew. Tyrion returned from the Vale, surprised by Ned's new position. You're playing the game now, Lord Stark, he said over wine. Be careful, the last honest man in King's Landing tends to be the first one buried. Arya had found Syrio again, training quietly in the shadows. Sansa remained trapped in golden lies, still dreaming of princes. Ned kept them close, but not close enough. Then came the whisper. Renly was gathering men. The Reach might rise. And Stannis, that cold, hard man, was building ships. The storm was coming. Ned had chosen silence to protect his daughters. But how long could silence hold back war? He looked out again at the burning horizon. His face was older now, lines deeper. For now, he repeated softly, but not forever. Ned Stark walked the stone halls of the Red Keep like a man carrying a blade hidden beneath his ribs, unseen but deadly. Every step, every glance, every quiet breath was a calculated move. His silence had saved his daughters for now, but it had also made him a player in a game he despised. And in King's Landing, players who hesitated didn't last long. Varys, the spider, visited again under moonlight. You've stirred the hornet's nest, Lord Stark. The Queen believes your loyalty is genuine, but the court is beginning to murmur. They remember your threat. They remember your honor. I still have it, Ned said coldly. Do you? Varys leaned in. Because if you mean to wait, Lord Stark, you must act like a man without it, for the safety of your girls. Ned said nothing, but the truth clawed at him every night. The Queen's spies had eyes everywhere, and now Littlefinger played both sides with his usual smirk. One afternoon, he slid beside Ned in the council chamber. I must say, Lord Stark, Littlefinger whispered, you've surprised me. I expected your northern pride to get you killed by now. I'm not dead. Yet, no. But the North is watching, and so is the Queen. That same day, Cersei summoned him. Her chamber was filled with the scent of sweet wine and something darker power. You've been quiet, she said, pouring him a drink. I expected rebellion, or at least whining, but you've accepted Joffrey's rule like a good dog. Ned took the cup but didn't drink. You have my word. I won't move against your son, for now. She asked, smiling. Ned held her gaze. For now, she laughed. You play the game, Stark. That's all I ever wanted from you. What Cersei didn't know was that Ned had begun sending riders north in secret. Trusted men with secret letters. To Howland Reed. To House Manderley. To the Eyrie. Not to call for war. Not yet, but to prepare. The truth could not stay buried. Forever back in the Red Keep, Arya moved like a shadow. She had taken Sirio's lessons to heart. She listened in the halls, learned the guards' routines, snuck into places she wasn't allowed. One night, she found her way beneath the castle, into the black tunnels where no light lived. There, she overheard something that made her blood run cold. Two voices. One, she recognized, Grand Maester Pycelle. The other was foreign, slick. Like oil, the North will rise, eventually, the foreigner said. Stark delays, but not forever. Best to remove the problem before it grows teeth. Pycelle mumbled something about poison. Arya's breath hitched. She crept back, fast and silent. She ran to Ned the next morning. He was in the Godswood, kneeling. In prayer, Father, she whispered, out of breath, they're going to kill you. He turned sharply. What? She told him everything. The voices, the plot, the poison. Ned's face went pale. He stood slowly. The game was turning faster than he could control. Meanwhile, Robb received his father's message in winter. He read it by torchlight in the great hall. It was vague but clear. Prepare the North, quietly, trust no one. Robb crushed the letter in his fist. His blood boiled. He should have never bowed to that boy, he growled. But Maester Luwin laid a calming hand on his shoulder. Sometimes, my lord, survival is the sharpest sword. In King's Landing, Ned visited the blacksmith's boy Gendry. Robert's bastard. He stared at the boy, watching the shadow of the king in his face. You must leave the city, Ned said softly. You're in danger. Gendry was confused, but he obeyed by nightfall. The Queen's spies knew. Cersei summoned her brother. Tyrion, she hissed. Ned Stark is planning something. He's moving pieces. If he won't fight us openly, we must drag him into the light. Tyrion raised his eyebrows. You want to provoke the wolf? No, she said. I want to expose him and then crush him. The trap had begun to set. The streets of King's Landing buzzed with rumors. The small folk whispered of a northern wolf who had bent the knee but hadn't sheathed his claws. Some said Lord Stark was sick, others claimed he was preparing to flee. But in truth, Ned was. Neither broken nor cowardly, he was preparing for war, just not the one fought with swords. In the quiet of his chambers, Ned worked by candlelight, studying the old Targaryen bloodlines, Baratheon histories, and the records of bastards born. Across the 7 kingdoms, he needed more than just truth. He needed proof. And allies, Varys appeared again, this time with darker news. Renly has fled, the spider whispered. He took his guards and vanished in the night. I suspect he goes to Highgarden. The Tyrells might back his claim. Ned frowned. Renly has no right. Stannis is too cold for the realm. Varys interrupted gently. Renly is popular, handsome, young. People love him. That matters more than blood. But Ned Stark wasn't moved by charm or convenience. He believed. In law, in truth. And in that truth, Joffrey had no right to sit the Iron Throne. He just couldn't say it. Not yet. Meanwhile, Sansa was changing. She no longer wept in silence. She watched. She learned how to smile at the Queen's cruel jokes and flatter Joffrey without flinching. Her courtesies became armor. One night, she visited Ned in his chambers. Father, she whispered, I've heard things. About you, about Joffrey. Is it true he isn't the king? Ned stared at her, the pain clear in his eyes. You shouldn't ask questions like that. I need to know, she pressed, voice shaking. If I'm to marry him, you won't, Ned said. Not if I can stop it. Sansa nodded, but fear clung to her face. Then hurry. Because I think the Queen knows something. Cersei did know something. She'd begun moving her own pieces. The city watch now answered to her more than the council. Gold cloaks lined the gates and walls. Littlefinger kept her informed of every whisper, every meeting, every messenger that left the Red Keep. One such messenger, a raven bound for the Eyrie, was intercepted. Its contents read aloud to Cersei. Ned's appeal to Lysa for support. She dares ignore my command to send the boy. She snapped. She fears your wrath, Littlefinger said, sipping wine. But she fears Stark more. Blood runs deep in the Vale. That night, Cersei invited Ned to a private supper. A calculated trap, dressed in silk and wine. They dined alone. The Queen's smile sharp as her tongue. You're playing a dangerous game, Stark. I'm not playing, Ned replied coldly. I'm surviving. You should have left King's Landing the moment Robert died. I would have, Ned admitted. But you took my daughter. She leaned in, and I'll take more if you keep digging. You think your honor can shield your girls. Ned's fists clenched. Touch them, and I won't remain silent. Then, speak, she dared. Call my son a bastard. See what happens to you. But she didn't kill him, not yet, because even Cersei knew Ned still held pieces she hadn't seen in the dark alleys of Fleabottom. Arya found new friends, beggar, boys, thieves, and whispers. They called her Cat now. She listened to talk of riots, hunger, and hate. One boy spoke of a shipment, crates arriving at night, full of arms and armor. Not for the Lannisters, for someone else. Arya followed. She watched gold cloaks loading. Wagons in secret, led by a man she recognized, Janos Slynt. She ran again, this time to Varys. They're hiding weapons, she hissed. Something's coming. Varys nodded solemnly. A quiet war is beginning, child. And your father is at the heart of it. In Winterfell, Robb trained harder than ever. The Raven came from the wall. Jon Snow had sent word. Tensions were rising beyond the wall. But Robb's mind was on the south. He waits too long, he muttered. Father waits too long. Maester Luwin warned patience. But war doesn't. Wait for the Honourable Dot back in the capital. Cersei gave the order. Tomorrow, she told Littlefinger, we take the Stark girl from her chambers. She'll be watched night and day. Littlefinger frowned. Won't that provoke him? That's the point, she said coldly. The trap was closing. Morning came over King's Landing with the kind of golden light that lied. The sun bathed the towers of the Red Keep in beauty, but beneath the warmth, something rotten stirred. Ned Stark was already awake. He hadn't slept. He couldn't. Arya's warning, Varys' whispers, Cersei's threats, they all circled his mind like wolves. In the dark, he dressed in silence, slipped his sword onto his belt, and stepped out of his chambers. Something was wrong. The halls were too quiet. No servants bustling about. No gold cloaks on patrol, at least none loyal to him. Then came the knock. Not a gentle tap, but a pounding thud. His guard opened the door, and 3 Lannister soldiers stormed in. By order of Queen Regent Cersei, the lead one said, your daughter Sansa will be relocated for her safety. Ned stepped forward, hand on the hilt of his sword. She's not going anywhere. The soldier's smirk didn't waver. Orders, Lord Stark. Before blood could be drawn, Sansa stepped out from her chamber. Father, she said softly, it's all right. I'll go. Her eyes, wide with fear, but full of silent understanding, held his gaze. Ned knew in that moment she wasn't just a girl anymore. She had learned how to survive. They took her away. Ned knew what this meant. The Queen wasn't just threatening now. She was acting. His time was up. He summoned what few men he had left. Jory was gone. Most of his household. Guard had been bribed or reassigned. But he still had Tommen and a handful of Northerners who hadn't bent to gold. We move tonight, he said. Arya first. Then we leave the city. But the Queen, Tommen began. We move in silence. No noise, no steel unless needed. We vanish. But plans unravel fast in King's Landing. That afternoon, Littlefinger came with news. You have to strike now, he said. The Queen plans to arrest you at the next council meeting. She'll have the city watch there more than usual. I'm not attacking anyone. Then you'll die, and so will your daughters. Ned looked at him hard. Why are you helping me? Littlefinger smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Because chaos is a ladder, and I like seeing who climbs. That evening, Varys appeared again. She's taken Sansa to Maegor's Holdfast. Guards at every corner. I know, Ned said, and the city watch has been bought. Not by her. By Littlefinger. That stopped him cold. What? Varys nodded. He lied to you. He'll turn on you the moment you step into the council chambers. The Queen means to keep your daughters. You'll be arrested, maybe killed. Ned felt the ice in his veins, so he changed his plan. He sent Tommen to find Arya. He wrote one last letter to Stannis, hidden with a stable boy instructed to ride at dawn. And he wrote to Robb, if I fall, do not kneel. Raise the north. Then he walked into the lion's den. The small council chamber was full. Cersei sat calmly beside Joffrey. Littlefinger stood beside the city watch commander, Janos Slynt, his face unreadable. Ned stepped in. His men waited outside the door. Lord Stark, Cersei said sweetly, "Please, join us." Ned did. "What is the meaning of this gathering?" he asked. Cersei's voice was smooth. "We've had word that you've been conspiring with Renly and Stannis, that you plan to remove the king. I serve the realm, do you?" she whispered. Then she nodded to Janos, Slynt. It happened. In a blink, gold cloaks poured into the chamber. Swords drawn, Ned's men were outside, ambushed, cut down. Littlefinger leaned close, placing a dagger at Ned's side. "I warned you not to trust me," he whispered. Ned was seized, held down, stripped of his sword. And there, before the small council, Queen Cersei smiled. "Lord Eddard Stark," she said, "you are charged with treason." Ned looked up at her, broken and furious. "For now," he muttered. They dragged him to the black cells. The black cells beneath the Red Keep were colder than Winterfell's worst storm. Stone walls wept with damp, rats scurried across straw-covered floors, and the smell of mold clung to everything like a curse. Ned Stark lay on his back, staring at the ceiling, the weight of chains pulling against his wrists. He had dreamed of wolves and snow, of home, of Catelyn's voice. But every time he woke, he remembered he was a prisoner, a traitor in the eyes of the realm. And worst of all, he had failed his daughters. Footsteps echoed one morning. A familiar sound, now boots scraping stone. The door creaked open. It was Varys again. "You look worse, Lord Stark," he said quietly, holding a candle. Ned sat up, bones aching. "Have they harmed my daughters?" "No," Varys said. "Not yet. But Sansa is being used. She's been brought before the court, made to beg for your life. It's cruel theatre." Ned lowered his eyes, and Arya vanished. "The Queen claims she's missing, but I believe she escaped." Ned let out a breath, relief mixed with fear. Arya was free, but alone in a city that devoured the weak. Varys looked at him. "They want something from you. I know. They want your confession. A public statement. They'll spare your life, send you to the wall, let your daughters live. But only if you admit to treason." Ned clenched his jaw. "You want me to lie? I want you to live." Later that day, the door opened again. This time, it wasn't it was Cersei. She wore black silk and a look of smug calm. "You're a fool, Stark," she said, walking slowly around his cell. "You could have left. You could have vanished into the north with your daughters, but you stayed, and now you've lost. I stayed because I believed there was still honor in this court." She laughed. "There is no honor in power, only fear and control. And now you will do what I say. You don't want the truth out." "I already buried the truth," she said sharply. "Stannis will never gain the throne. Renly has fled like a coward. The lords of the realm are silent, and your family is scattered. You are alone." Ned met her eyes. Not for long. Her lips twitched. "Then you'll confess." Ned didn't answer. 3 days passed. In Winterfell, Robb had received the message. He stood in the great hall, eyes burning with rage. "They've taken him, my father, and they want him to confess to something he didn't do." Maester Luwin tried to calm him. "We must wait. No more waiting," Robb said. "Call the banners." In the Eyrie, Lysa refused to act. "The Game of Thrones is not my concern," she told her guards. But one of her knights, Siovardis, sent word to the Riverlands. And in the Reach, Renly began gathering swords. The silence was ending. Back in the black cells, Sansa was allowed. One visit. She rushed to her father, tears falling. "They'll let you live if you just say it. Just tell them what they want." Ned looked at her, so young, so broken. He reached out and held her hand. "I don't want to die," he whispered, "but I want the truth to live." Sansa sobbed. "Please, father, just lie. Live for Arya, for me, for Robb." That night, Varys returned. "The Queen has arranged a stage. The Sept, tomorrow. You kneel, you confess, and she lets you take the black. And if I don't, she lets the Boy King decide." Ned looked down. "Then I'll kneel." The next morning, he was dragged into the light. A large crowd had gathered at the great Sept of Baelor. The bells rang. Birds scattered from the rooftops. Joffrey sat high above, crown gleaming. Cersei beside him, smug as ever. Sansa stood on the steps, eyes wide with dread. Ned was pushed forward. He looked to the crowd, to the nobles, to the commoners, to the gods, and then he spoke. "I, Lord Eddard Stark, confess to treason. I plotted against King Joffrey. I betrayed the realm." A wave of murmurs spread through the crowd. "I did it for my family, for peace." He looked up at Joffrey. The boy smiled. "Take him to the wall," Cersei began, already turning away. But Joffrey stood. "My father is dead because of him," he said coldly. "He is no traitor. He is a liar." The silence was sharp. "He must die." Cersei whipped her head around. "No, I am the king." Joffrey shouted. Ned stared, breath caught, and Seer Ilyn Payne stepped forward, sword in hand. The crowd held its breath. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the air felt like it had frozen in time. Ned Stark knelt before the great Sept of Baelor, the echo of his forced confession still hanging in the air like smoke. Above him, the Boy King stood tall, his voice sharp, his jaw set. "I am the king." Joffrey said again, louder this time, and pointed down at Ned. "Bring me his head," Sansa screamed. Loud, raw, a cry that tore through the court like a blade. "Please, no," he confessed. "He's loyal." He. Cersei grabbed Joffrey's arm. "You cannot do this." But the boy yanked away. "I am the king." Ned said nothing. He knelt straight, eyes closed. He had come prepared to live. But now, in this moment, peace had failed. His silence, his patience, all of it had come to nothing. He opened his eyes one last time. His gaze swept across the faces, the lords, the guards, the small folk. Some looked away in shame. Others watched eagerly, hungry for blood. Then he saw her Arya, hidden in the crowd, hood drawn, face pale but watching. He met her eyes. He didn't flinch. She saw it all. The sword came down. It was fast, final, and cruel. And with it, the last honorable man in King's Landing was gone. Blood pooled on the stone, and the crowd erupted. Some gasped, others cried. A few even cheered. But in that moment, something deeper shifted in the realm. Something no one in the court could see. The North would not forget, back in Winterfell. The news came on a cold wind. Robb Stark stood in silence as the Raven scroll was read. His face showed nothing, but his knuckles went white around the hilt of his sword. He turned to Great Jon Umber and said just 3 words. "Call the banners." The Great Jon grinned. "The North remembers." Every raven from the neck to the wall carried the same message. Eddard Stark is dead in the Vale. Lysa wept quietly, but did nothing. In the Riverlands, Catelyn Stark received the news while riding. Toward Riverrun, she dismounted, fell to her knees, and screamed into the dirt. At Castle Black, Jon Snow read the words by torchlight. The cold beyond the wall suddenly felt like fire burning inside him. Back in King's Landing, chaos began to bloom. Arya disappeared. Varys had helped her flee, dressing her as a boy and slipping her out of the city under a different name. Her journey into darkness had begun. Sansa was broken. She stayed in her chamber for days, refusing food. Cersei scolded her for being dramatic. But even the Queen looked shaken. Her plan had been undone by her own son. And Joffrey, he smiled. The boy king had proven himself a monster, and now the realm would burn for it. Weeks passed. War drums began to beat in every corner of Westeros. Stannis finally declared himself king. Raising his banner with the fiery heart of R'hllor Lawler, Renly marched with the power of the Reach behind him. Claiming the throne by charm and force, the Lannisters scrambled to defend their hold, Tywin gathering his armies in the west. Jaime marched toward Riverrun, unaware that Robb Stark was already in the field, and the Boy King sat on the Iron Throne, smug and untouchable for now. But from the north, a storm was coming. Robb Stark, the young wolf, marched south with 20,000 swords and a fire no cold could kill. The Game of Thrones had changed forever, and the man who bent for his daughters for peace had paid with his head. But in death, Eddard Stark had lit a fire that no one could put out. Not the Queen, not the throne, not even the gods. The realm had drawn blood. Now it would drown in it.